The following program is produced by Londonderry residents. The views and opinions expressed are not necessarily the views and opinions of the LACTV staff or its volunteers, and should not be considered an endorsement by CTV 20 or its staff and volunteers.
Hi, this is Representative Al Baldessaro. Once again, I'm back on Who's Looking Out for You. I have some special guests today. Before I want to get into that during election seasons, there's a lot of attacks that go on. And I mean, for the last 8 terms that I've been a state rep, I'm a racist every 2 years. I'm this, I'm that, homophobia. The names they call you, unbelievable. I know my good friend, I have a special guest today, the Sheriff, Chuck Maceos. He's been attacked over and over and over, saying he's not doing his job, he's not doing it, he's a puppet, this and that. Well, let me tell you something there. We've done a lot of stuff there that I haven't seen in years, the sheriff has done. And he's going to get into a little bit more with the drug seizures, involvement with the schools, more cars on the road, and all this stuff. Kevin Coyle is a puppet, okay? And I can say that because he destroyed families here in Londonderry, and my family was one of them, on the underage drinking party stuff there, and false arrests. We show up for court, they send you back home, and they say you're going to be arrested. He is bad for the state. Londonderry is smart, the town, and got rid of him. He was a Republican, now he's a Democrat. I mean, he's out of control. So if a vote for Kevin Coyle is definitely a vote that will destroy the sheriff's department. With that, I'm going to move on, and of course, my special co-host, Speaker of the House, Sherm Packett. I have a special guest here, Register of Deeds, Kathy Stacy, the Sheriff Maceos, and our favorite county attorney, Pat Conway. Well, I'm going to tell you, let's get into this right off the bat. I mean, first of all, Pat, I'm going to go to Pat. Pat, you've been saving the county a lot of money. You've been winning a lot of cases. Tell a little bit about yourself there, what's going on.
Thank you, Al. I'd love to do that. In terms of saving the taxpayers' money, we do support and work with our sheriff and our jail and our pretrial release program. If someone is not a violent offender, we will release them on that program. They're monitored by our sheriff's department and by our jail. And by doing that, we save the taxpayers about $100 a day, because that's how much it costs essentially to have someone in jail. We also have strengthened, and I've advocated for our drug court, which is another way that we can save money, and we do save money in Rockingham County. Again, instead of incarcerating these folks in prison, we put them in our drug court program. Again, we're saving $100 a day, and we're also rehabilitating folks who are addicted to drugs so that they become a productive member of community. That program also reduces recidivism rates by about 40%. So not only does it save taxpayers money, but it also reduces crime in Rockingham County.
That's awesome. And Sheriff, I know, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been impressed here the last few years you've been the sheriff, because I've never seen our sheriff's cars on the road, on the highways like I've been seeing, and in and out of Londonderry and other areas. Tell us, what have you been doing? Tell them as a sheriff there, how you sent money back also.
First of all, I'd like to thank you and Sherm for inviting all the county people to speak about the good work that the Rockingham County team, and we call ourselves the team over there because we are a team. We all work hand in hand to get the job done. We're all professionals. We're here to do our job, and we do it. As far as the work that I do over the sheriff's office, when I campaigned, I heard a lot that, what do the sheriffs do? We never see you. Well, you see us now. Mm-hmm. You see us now. I mean, the sheriff's office consists of a lot of departments that are over there. We have a patrol division, which serves our civil process and evictions. We in charge of all the court security at the Rockingham County Superior Court. We have our transport unit down there that transports these prisoners back and forth from the jail to the courts. We have over 30 bailiffs at that court that provide security for all the people that are coming in and out. We have a warrant unit that we go up and, with bail reform, it's very hard because, people are getting arrested and they're getting bailed out at $40 or whatever, and they're not showing up to court. So it's a big job for us, because now they don't show up, we have to go find them and pick them back up. We do work with the Fugitive Marshal Service on warrants. If we have someone that is a fugitive or a bad person, that we work with them to get them off the street. My biggest accomplishment is our Rockingham County Drug Task Force. When I became sheriff, our drug task force was at a good point, and I promised that I was gonna enhance the Rockingham County Drug Task Force. We actually have 11 towns, 11 police officers from different towns that I deputize.
Londonderry's involved in that too, right?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
Yes. That I deputize them, and what we do is we target areas, we target these big drug dealers that are selling this poison to children, family, and friends. In a 14-month period, we've taken close to 75 pounds worth of fentanyl off the streets. We've had 7 of some of the largest cases of fentanyl in state history. We have a case right now that we're working on. It's going to be extremely, very large. We seized close to $400,000 worth of money, plus, guns.
Right.
And as cases go on, we're bringing it in. So that's a huge accomplishment. I mean, I will fight to the last day that I'm sheriff to get these drugs off the street.
Oh, that's awesome.
A lot of other things that we've done, people don't realize what the county does. We dispatch for 24 towns, and we just picked up another fire department, so we're up to 19 fire departments. And that
You're
is.
dispatching, you're talking, right?
Dispatching, yeah. That's open
So you're
20
bringing money into the county?
Of course we are, of course we are. Before COVID came in, we were looking, I think, a little bit under $1 million that we brought into the county. But I'm a fiscal conservative when it comes to money because, number one, I don't work for county commissioners, and I don't work for delegations. I don't work for the governor.
Right.
I work for the people of
You're a
Rockingham County.
constitutional sheriff.
That's right, and I'm a fiscal
Sure,
conservative.
the speaker made sure of that, but, we kept that
But
going,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm also a fiscal conservative.
Right.
And, I mean, in the 4 years that I've been there, I've returned hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s back to the county. Now, coming out of COVID was very important to me when we looked at our budget. Now, I can't control union wages or retirement, and it's very important that if you want people to work for you,
You gotta pay
you
'em.
have to pay them the money.
Right.
Because right now, no one wants to be a cop anymore. So we actually came in with a flatline budget, right? And there was no extra money spent on, our operating budget.
Right.
You know what I mean? We just picked up a canine dog last year on a full grant
That's
for
awesome.
the dog, the officer, the training, the housing, the food, the medical. That's a great asset, and it's not our dog, it's the county dog. And this dog is a patrol dog, and he's a drug dog. That dog gets deployed all the time throughout Rockingham County. So those are some of the things that I
Right.
do. But it's very important for us to make sure that we're providing the best possible law enforcement services,
Right.
which we are. I'll give you a perfect example. When that Texas shooting happened last year, we had like 3 weeks worth of school left. I deployed all our deputies. I say, listen, if you're in patrol and you're going to serve paperwork, go do it out in front of a school. Same thing with transport. While you're waiting for transport, make sure, go sit out in front of a school, assist your towns, and make sure we have units surrounding these schools, just in case something happens.
Right.
So it's very important for us to be involved in active shooter, which we are involved in active
Right.
shooter. We're actually doing a big active shooter training in Stratham, not this week, the following week. So we're out there training with all these local law enforcement agencies, and not federal and state, to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to active shooter.
So you're keeping Pat Conley, our county attorney, busy, is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes,
Huh?
and she's
Yeah.
very busy over there.
Yeah,
She's
no,
very
that's
busy.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, what people don't realize, we're fortunate here because our sheriff has a business in town, but, and he serves, not only serves the people there and mechanics and gas and all that.
Right.
But you've done a great job as, the best I've seen in my 16 years as a state rep.
Well, I'm a little bit different than a regular sheriff or law enforcement.
Yeah.
Because I've been working, 4 years being the sheriff, but I have 34 years with the law enforcement
Right.
training.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
From 1994 to 1998, I was a part-time New Hampshire state trooper,
Yeah.
where I served my county, my state, for nothing. I volunteered. So I've trained with the best. I've been training with the sheriff's office. Unfortunately, I have a candidate that doesn't think that I'm actually running the sheriff's office. because I hired a chief deputy,
Mm-hmm.
which, if you look in the Constitution, all sheriffs have that position, chief
Oh,
deputy.
the president has a vice, the county
That's right.
attorney has a deputy,
And
the
chief-
clerk has a deputy, the register of deeds, the speaker has a deputy.
Right, and chief deputy position is a very important
Right,
person. If
mhm,
you look at the
yeah.
town of Londonderry,
Mhm.
we have a deputy chief,
Yeah.
right? So if you look at how law enforcement works with the chain of command, just because I have a chief deputy doesn't mean that I'm not running the sheriff's
Right,
office.
no, I agree
right?
100%.
Like my chief deputy I have right now, right? He oversees the Rockingham County
You know,
Drug Task Force. and
Sherm,
he-
what do you, if I may, Sherm, what do you think? I mean, is that typical Democrat garbage where they come and attack you, they throw stuff at you and hope that it sticks, lies and deceit?
Well, the bottom line is this. The sheriff is doing a wonderful job. Coyle knows he's doing a wonderful job. So what else has he got? You can't attack him on his job because he's doing such a good
Right.
job. So he's attacking him with falsehoods and insinuations that I just should be below what a man running for sheriff should be doing. It's unexcusable, you know,
It's
that
unacceptable.
he's
Right.
attacking. I have a deputy, a deputy speaker, who, I mean, is in the office almost every day with me. I couldn't run the office without him and the staff. So to say that, that's wrong is just, it's ludicrous.
Yeah, it is, and that's why,
The bottom line is, I stood up to the county commissioners when I became sheriff. And it's, if it's not me, it's someone else, an elected official there.
Right.
But I'm doing what I believe in my heart is the best for the taxpayers when
Oh,
it
there's
comes
no
to public
doubt, yeah.
safety.
there's no doubt in my mind. Sherm, most people, and the reason why I said about him being in town, the same thing with you. You're the Speaker of the House. You run the whole State House and all that, the grounds and everything else. So you're not just doing, legislation and everything else. You have a bigger job. That's why it's important, that you have deputies. But anyways, our involvement with the county and how you led the charge and other stuff on saving taxpayers' money on county money, worked on that county budgets for years and years. Give a little insight on your play and as a speaker and how Londonderry benefits and how the county benefits by your being the Speaker of the House.
Well, first of all, I think the vast majority of the people don't realize that we as state representatives also do the county budget.
Right.
You talk to the average person on the street and they have I've even seen candidates that are running for office that have no idea that they're responsible for the county budget. So, what it is that, the final say on the county budget is after the departments present their budget to the commissioners present it to us, and then, we either accept it as it is or we fine tune it. And so, everybody needs to understand that I think we're the only state in the country that does that. I've talked to numerous speakers and they look at me like I'm, crazy, because I think we are the only state in the country where the delegation actually is responsible for the county budget, not your state senators, just the state representatives. And, I say I've been involved with the county budget on and off for a long time. When I first got in, I was heavily involved on the executive committee. I was the chairman of the executive committee for a couple of years, and now I'm vice chairman of the executive committee. And we're going to have a whole bunch of new people, coming in on this time around. But it's very important that in Rockingham County, I think you'll see that we have probably the best people in the state because we've been able to pretty much keep our budget balanced without increasing it for quite a few years and quite a few sessions now. So, I mean, I can do nothing but congratulate, the three of you and on the terrific job that you're doing.
Sherm, if I could cut in for a
different
second.
areas.
Isn't Rockingham County's been controlled by Republicans for hundreds of years because we have more conservatives in Rockingham County than we do throughout the country? And that's why our numbers and the people running Rockingham County, the sheriff, the attorney, and the deeds, why we're saving so much money and keeping it low because the Republicans run it?
We've been, the Republicans have been the majority party in Rockingham County for as long as I can remember. We're about two-thirds, one-third right now, roughly. And I hope that increases this coming election.
Right.
But yeah, the people that we have been putting in office right along have been fantastic, and these three are just absolutely fantastic. Stacy, you've been doing it for
28 years.
28 years, okay? Just a little bit less than I've been doing it.
I saved her to the end because for a reason I have to say something about Kathy before. You know,
But, you know, Pat and Chuck are just doing a fabulous job under really, really hard circumstances. I know that the drug, forfeiture bill, I mean, created some serious problems for Pat. We had to increase the number of people that she had, and, the active role that, Chuck is doing now in trying to get the drugs off the street, and, and I think you're doing some traffic stuff too now, aren't you, Chuck?
Yeah, we actually, when I first became sheriff, it was kind of hard for us to get highway safety grants. And we did get some, we did get some that year. We got the second year, we did get some money. This fourth year, last year we could only do Windham and Exeter. This year here, we can go anywhere in Rockingham County. So we've been targeting the highways. I mean, last year alone, we had 5,800 traffic stops. And it's been extremely busy for us because with state police being down on troopers, I mean, we're up on the highways. We're assisting them big time. We have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the state troopers are down, quite a few troopers right now.
They're down
Quite
a
a
lot
few
of troopers, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's what the sheriff's office does. I mean, we
Right.
back up our law enforcement people. We just don't serve paperwork and go home at the end of the day. We're out actually patrolling. Even our night shift, we have a night shift up to 10 o'clock at night. And we do have a Saturday car, and we do have a deputy on call all weekend, because if we get called out for, to transport an inmate back to the hospital, which has been happening a lot, you know what I mean? Not only does it affect our budget, it's very cumbersome when it comes to, but we do have people on call all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'll tell you, Sherman, I don't know if you remember a few years ago, we had a guy by the name of Chet Hall that lived in that old house on the hill in Pillsbury. And they called him the Hermit here in town. And he was an artist. He was actually my art teacher when I went to Rins before I got kicked out of that high school and went into another high school, because it was an all-boys school and all the girls were in the other school. Right, you walk out one door and walk about from here to there's another door to go into Latin. So I wasn't at school. I was just in Latin all the time. But anyway, make a long story short, they would get. I think it was under Obama there when we had all those foreclosures and everything else that was going on. His house, he lost properties, everything. He had a bunch of properties, and the money dropped, and his interest rates went up. He just couldn't afford it anymore. So this guy's 80-something years old, and they're getting ready to foreclose on his house and have an auction. Well, I wrote up the paperwork there, and I went to the courthouse the morning of the auction. And I went there, and I went and seen Kathy. I said, Kathy, I got a problem. I said, there's no deed. We can't find who owns the deed. It's gone out, it's been sold many times, and they're going to auction this property, and this guy, he wants to die in this house. She brought that to the court, to a judge. Within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, had it signed. We were out the door. 5 minutes before the auction, we stopped it. And they were pissed. There was about 50 people out there waiting to bid for this house. Okay, and because of Kathy, that Londonderry resident was able to stay in his house, and his wishes were made because he died in that home. That's what he wanted.
Yep.
And Kathy, you've been the registry, like you said, 28 years?
28 years, yes.
You've done a great job. You saved the county a lot of money also, and you've taken in a lot of money. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and
I
what
think
you've
that's
done?
it. Tell us how much money you bring in, Kathy.
Yeah.
because that is,
That's the key.
Well, first, I want to thank Alan Sherm. This is a great opportunity for us, talking about money. You want to talk about money? Okay, so a lot of people don't realize, obviously, that, my office is a land records office, but I am an agent for the Department of Revenue. And I bring in for the Department of Revenue last year $70 million, and for Rockingham County, almost $6 million. So I generate a lot of money at my office. One of the other things that I'm required to do is, which helps every community in Rockingham County, is I send daily reports to every assessor in every community of every transaction that takes place. So when somebody records something that affects the title to land, it goes directly right to the assessor, right from my office, to help so that they can keep their records up to date, so there's no issues with taxes and so
Right.
forth like that. But you're right, I've been there 28 years. When I first was elected, they didn't even have a computer system in there for the public. So one of the things that I had said that I would do was I would computerize the office, and I have really been fortunate to get a lot of technology in my office, and I'm the only one in the whole state that has 100% image and index online available to the public. And our records in Rockingham County date back to 1629.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
And that's all on the computer? People get,
It's all on the computer,
Oh, that's
absolutely,
awesome.
100%
I
on the
didn't realize
computer,
that.
yeah. Everything is out there, because we get a lot of people who want to do genealogy
Right,
research.
like my wife.
Yeah, right, they do. And so, historically, people have come into the office. Now we see less and less, and through technology, I had a time when I had 24 employees, but through attrition, I didn't replace people, and I'm down to 11 employees. And we are as busy, if not busier, than we've been ever before. And during COVID, I had over half my staff out on furlough. They took voluntary furlough, and we saw a 25% increase in the volume in my office. And I want you all to know that there was not even a blip. I had 5 staff members, and we just kept on top of
And
everything.
you all didn't take off.
No,
You all
we were
worked,
there.
you were there in your office through COVID.
Absolutely. Well, you can't stop real estate,
Right.
right? And real estate was booming in Rockingham County.
Right.
So myself and my staff, we had to be there,
Right.
because you can't just stop. I mean, what would have happened? And it would have imploded, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, I've been very fortunate over my 28 years, because I've had a really great relationship with the delegation members, and you have to be able to have that relationship, because as you said, you guys oversee the budget, you have to have a working relationship. On top of that, I'm the legislative chair for the New Hampshire Association of Counties. So
Oh,
I'm
I
up in
didn't- that's
Concord
right.
with bills that affect every aspect of county government, right? And so, over the years, I've schooled myself, and get to know all the different things that happen, whether it's the jail, the nursing home, whether it's Pat or Chuck's offices or my office. It's nice to have a relationship with your delegation members, because when you have stuff that's up in Concord and you have to testify, you can reach out and get either somebody to say, yeah, I'll come in and testify in opposition, or I'll come and testify, in favor. And it makes a big difference.
Right,
It really
yeah.
does. But we do, Pat was right. We work as a team. And Chuck, we are a team. And we work very well together. And, right now, I think that we've had a good relationship with the committee. It's important. Everybody has to work together. You really do.
Right.
Because, county governments, there's a lot of aspects to county government, and we need to really work together.
Right, no, I agree. Now let's bring out the bad stuff on the county at the building.
Oh.
Okay? And I want Sherm to start that off on what they did
Gotta get Kathy
on the
going
budget,
about the building.
on the money, and then explain, and I'm gonna step out of it, and you
Yeah.
explain the mold, the toilets backups,
Oh, yeah.
the septic issues over the years, and how we rent that building
Yeah.
from the state,
Yeah.
and how we're building. Sherm, you wanna start that off?
Well, I was on the executive committee when that building was built, the courthouse, and I remember being down in the lower level, where most of the problems
Yes.
are right now.
Yeah.
Of course, back then, we didn't have the problems, but the building has got some serious defects. And, we got, I think it was $60 million from the CARES money. And unless something changed, we're using about half of that to construct a new building for, for Kathy, and I forget all the people we're putting in
I
there.
think the
actually.
sheriff's gonna be in
The
there.
sheriff's gonna
Yeah.
be in there. So, we've had numerous problems with the old building as far as, the employees getting sick, and there is a lot of mold, and it's just a horrible working situation.
Yeah.
So we're moving forward with the construction of the building, and it should be good for 50 years
Yeah.
or so anyways.
Yeah, and like, Pat, I mean, how does that affect your attorneys and everything else with flooding and other stuff that's going on over there?
Yeah, so it's been a problem for a very long time. So I've been the county attorney for 8 years, but before that, I was an assistant county attorney for about 16 years. And, you know, even back then, I think I started in 1999. At one point, we had to vacate our office and go upstairs and basically just use any room that was available, because they had to rip down the walls and the carpet because of the mold and the flooding issues, and it was just not safe for people to be there. So they did that. It disrupted business for everyone. We ended up going back down to the office, but the problems continued, and they continue until today. You know, in my office right now, if you go in my office, you'll see that there's some water coming down from the ceiling, and it's staining the top of my ceiling. So the issues have not stopped.
Right.
And it's just, it's not safe for our employees there. Additionally, with regard to my office, we've just outgrown the space. So my attorneys have to share offices, which is unacceptable because they're dealing with highly sensitive, confidential information.
Right, yeah.
They can't, you know, talk on the telephone or do a Zoom conference call with somebody else in the office. My victim advocates are in cubicles. My investigators have to share an office. So it's just the conditions there, and on top of just the fact that we've grown out of it, we're really thankful for this new building that will be coming
Right.
hopefully and built in, I don't know, 3-4 years
Yeah.
maybe.
And the same thing like with you, Kathy, as a registered deeds. I mean, I've been in your many times, and you got all them computers, you got everything there. I mean, how does that affect you and your staff?
Well, it's been difficult because, you know, when I moved into that building in 1996, it was flooded. The weekend that my office moved, that office was flooded and it was full of sewage.
Oh, wow.
And we were just moving into a brand-new building.
Wow.
So that was day
Did
one.
they hold the builders accountable? Did we have suits or anything? Or did-
I don't know what they did,
Right.
But, you know, I know
Not
that,
that I remember.
Yeah.
I don't think that they did, and, you know, over the years, I mean, I've had to move my office since we moved in 2 more times. And, once was we moved into the county attorney's office and they went upstairs so that, you know, they could rip out every
Right.
wall in my office, rip out all the carpeting in my office. That was one time. Then the second time, again, they had to rip out walls, change out carpeting.
Right.
You know, because we've had nothing but problems with that building since day one. It's really sad. It really is sad, because when you think about how much money the state of New Hampshire paid, and the fact that, I know that there had been some vandalism when it was being built, but, you know, these ongoing issues, I mean, we've had times where, believe it or not, I've had a bucket of water come through the ceiling because we didn't know that over a weekend there was a leak in a pipe, and what happened was the maintenance people took a board, put it across the drop ceiling, and left a bucket up there, and the next thing you know, I have
Bucket
staff and,
overflowed.
and they're covered. And you're like, how does this happen?
Right.
How does this?
Yeah, why didn't they repair it over the weekend,
Right, why wouldn't
right?
they repair it? I mean, even in my office, I had computer damage in my physical office because I had a pipe that exploded above my office. I mean, we have more photographs of issues with that building, and it's just, you know, it's in its time. I mean, we're very fortunate that the delegate, you know, it's taken a long time, obviously, because we've had a lot of committees, right, Sharon? We've had a lot of committees over the years looking at, talking about a new building, and finally we're there. I think we're going to be breaking ground November 17th. So that's really exciting. It
Oh,
really is
that's
exciting.
awesome.
But you're right. I mean, you know, you got to remember, I have a lot of public that come into my office. So when the state was saying there was nothing wrong with the building, I had members of the public who paid people to come in and do air quality checks, and that's when everything really came to fruition,
Right.
because I had a lot of people who were sick. They really were
Now,
sick.
this new building, Pat, are you gonna have plenty of space that's being built in there for the county attorneys and
Yes,
everything?
yes, everyone will have their own office, all the attorneys anyway will have their own office, and of course, we're planning for, you know, years down the road, so if we do grow, that we'll have enough space for everyone.
Yeah, and then
we're-
the sheriff too, right?
Yep,
Isn't
the
he?
sheriff will be there, the register of deeds, we're gonna have a great auditorium, where we will be able to conduct trainings and things like that,
can
which
even-
is awesome.
We can even rent out the
The
auditorium
yeah.
too, so if
Right.
other
Right.
law enforcement groups or county will be able to actually make money
Right.
for training.
One of the things that we do in my office is we conduct trainings for law enforcement, and we've had to use the Hilton Auditorium in the past, which is great. It's not that big.
Now explain what the Hilton Auditorium so people, what they know
So
what that
the
is.
Hilton Auditorium is essentially an auditorium. It's at the nursing home. It's a pretty big space. There's a stage, but it's old. You know, there's not too much there in terms of electronics and digital things that we can use to present. So we do trainings for law enforcement. This new auditorium is going to be fabulous in terms of what we can do. We save taxpayers' monies by doing that because we don't charge the police departments. This year, we've been doing one on strangulation, which has been very well received by all the police departments, essentially training law enforcement on how to handle those situations and how to investigate them. So this auditorium will enable us to do more trainings like that
Right.
for police departments.
So you're actually teaching them the law and other things, you know, so they understand when they pull somebody over or, you know.
And with this new LEAC commission, when it comes to training for police officers, we actually, this year, we're doing 8 hours with the training, and then we do, they call it the 3-2s, ethics. I can't remember the name of the 2 other classes. But next year, we go to 10 hours of training plus the 3-2s. The following year, we go to 14 hours with the training
Right.
plus the 3-2s. And then the 4th year, we go to 24 hours plus the 3-2s. Now, that doesn't count the 4 hours of range time on deadly, right, the nighttime shooting
Right.
4 hours, plus lethal classes, right, and deadly force classes. So you're talking, in 4 years, we're gonna be up to 40 hours of training. And the
Wow.
cost to do it is
Yeah.
gonna be, it's gonna be a big factor.
And then the lawyers play a big part in that, the county attorneys.
Right, so we basically will present trainings on different specialized issues. So with regard to strangulation, typically those are domestic violence cases. And what we saw was that they were not being properly investigated, or unfortunately, some departments were not taking them seriously. For instance, many people think that when someone is strangled, and we're talking about people who survive, not people who die or are murdered. Many people think that there's definitely going to be a bruise or some sort of a mark, and that's just not the case.
Right.
I've had the medical examiner testify in jury trials that most times you're not going to see marks, and if you do, they're so light that you can't pick them up with a camera.
Right.
So many police officers didn't even know that, so they were not essentially believing these victims and taking all the steps that they needed to do to investigate and document what happened.
Right.
But strangulation is not the only training. We've done search and seizure type trainings as well. First responder trainings for officers who are investigating or dealing with victims of sexual assault, because obviously it can be really difficult for a victim, whether it's an adult or a child, to talk about sexual abuse. So we really kind of will do all types of trainings. I ask the departments yearly, is there anything that you'd like to see in terms of training? What can we do for you? What is it that you need? But if we see something that is lacking in any area, we'll go ahead and take the initiative and do the training
Right.
ourselves.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, I'd like to bring someone up, Al. You and I are both pretty damn conservative. We don't like to spend money.
Right.
But when it comes to a situation like this, I think we both realize that county government plays an integral part in our state.
Big time.
And if it's going to be successful, we need to make sure that the employees that we have in the county are safe and that they're not being put into a situation where they can get sick and have future sicknesses because of the working environment. That's just not right.
Right.
So I mean, what we're doing is the right thing, probably should have been done before, long before, but the fact of the matter is, it's getting done now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And I can attest to that,
Yeah.
being the sheriff,
Right.
because our office is on top of the jail.
Right.
It's a very small area. That was supposed to be a temporary location, I think. I can't remember when they moved out of the Superior Court out of Exeter. And this was supposed to be just a layover for a year or so.
Right.
And we've been stuck there for the last 30 years or longer.
Wow.
Right.
And I mean, even like our dispatch center, I mean, when Sheriff Downing was alive, his goal was to enhance that area, which Mike Hero ended up completing.
Right.
But there's no room in there. There's no room for growth. when we hire new people, which
Right.
everybody's short.
Where's your dispatch at? Is that
It's
in
in
that
our
building
office.
too?
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's, the room's smaller, it's
Right.
like half the size of this. So you stuff all these dispatches in, but as time grows and people want us to join our dispatch centers, you know, down the road, bottom line is that we need the space.
Now, I don't remember there, did we budget for new technology for the dispatch for when they move over to the new building?
Yes.
I think we
They
did.
did,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, they actually, I tell you, they, you know, there's a lot of plans that go out there, and you really have to, when you, it's like, we actually toured the Londonderry Police Department to see how they built that building. We toured the Hampton Police Department, and, you know, like, when Hampton built their building, there was not a lot of technology back then, but we're building it for growth, like, you know, we are gonna have conference rooms, like, we have 28 full-time deputies. And they don't have any areas to do their paperwork. They have to share some
Right.
small cubicles. Even like an evidence room, you have to have ventilation in there. It's gonna be awesome to get a
Right.
building that we could really use.
That's
But I
awesome.
think you're gonna find that, I mean, we have to change the way we were doing business because of COVID. A lot of changes, right? I mean, obviously, you know, some people can work remotely. My office cannot work remotely, even though we do about 65% of electronic filing, but I have a lot of public who come to my office, but because of the closeness and proximity, we really had to change how we were doing business
Yeah.
because of COVID and the requirements of having people 6 feet apart, making sure,
Right.
you know, we didn't have a cafeteria for people to have lunch, so we had to create something which was now in the public, what was the public area, or part of it. I gave Pat 2 conference rooms for her staff to have offices, as well as a whole wing of my public area to
Right.
try to get, you know, the space to get people
Right.
to be safe, right? We want
Who
our
actually
staff to
runs
be
that
safe.
building? Is there somebody from the state?
Yes, it's Sarah Londonderry. She's with the Bureau of Court Facilities.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, Sherm, when they did the plans, is the courts gonna stay there? In that building?
I'm not sure.
Don't know?
I
Yeah.
don't know that.
Yeah, and our transport office is gonna be, transport, we have a transport office there. We have to stay there.
Yeah.
We have to stay there.
Yep.
There's-
I don't know of any plans to build a new courthouse at this point.
Oh, okay. There's one person I wanted here today who can tell you and reinforce on the money stuff there, how you go all doing a great job, our county treasurer. Can you talk a little bit about the county treasurer there and,
Sure.
you know, quick on how he done a great job for the town?
Well, I think he's done a great
Good.
job for the county, because obviously
Yeah.
he's my brother,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So his name is Scott Priestley. He is an accountant by trade.
He's a CPA,
He-
right?
He
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
and, you know, he came into being put into that position because the former treasurer, as you know, passed
we
away.
appointed him. We all
So he
voted
was
for him.
appointed
Right.
by the delegation, which was great, and he's done a great job. I have to tell you, you know, I've been around a long time, and he is very conscientious. He goes to that county and he goes through every warrant, all of it. He reviews everything that's happening in that finance office. And I have to say that Chuck Nickerson, who's the director of the finance department, is very pleased. So, you know, I know he's done a good job. He's conscientious. He's
Right.
there. You know, and I want people to realize it's a part-time job. It's
Right,
not a
yeah.
full-time job. That is a part-time job. And he, up until about 2 months ago, they had taken away his office because of COVID. They needed it for storing certain things. But now he has his office back, so he can actually get in there and do it. Before, he was having to meet them, get all the paperwork, and go through it at his home.
Right.
And then bring
Bring
it
it
back
back.
and sign off. But, yeah, he's done a great job.
Yeah.
He has done a great job.
Okay, so Scott Priestley, we gotta make sure
Yes,
that
please.
you vote for the county treasurer also there, all the Republican county officers.
Yes.
Sherm, what do you think, Sherm? I mean, I've been very impressed in my time as a state rep with the county. I mean, I think we did a great job putting in the right people in there.
Of course, everybody's gonna say I'm bragging, but, you know, I've been around a long time, and I gotta say that I believe our county is the best-run county in the
Right.
state by far. You know, and I firmly believe we'll continue to be the best-run county, mainly because we're, you know, Republicans are controlling it.
Right.
And maybe you want to talk, Al, about what we just passed to help these people out for 4 years.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, that was a great bill. I was honored to be part of it and pushing that there. I used to get aggravated at our county attorney, our sheriff, and because once they get elected, they have to start campaigning again for 2 years. When your county attorney's got cases going on, you got all this here, they got to focus on running for reelection. And the sheriff there, he should be focused on training, which they all have done a great job, like you. But the thing is, we changed it now to every 4 years. And the reason we did, now you don't have to go out and fundraise, you don't have to do this, that. You focus on the job, you focus on training your people, you focus on your court cases. So this bill that we passed there, and the other counties were pissed off. They weren't proactive like we were in Rockingham County, where we said, hey, enough is enough. We want them out there doing their job, not campaigning, fundraising. So they tried to put amendment on the bill, and another county got mad, and they, on the floor, got up and they killed that amendment there. But we were fortunate with Rockingham County. We stuck together. Myself and a few others went around the floor talking to other Republicans, saying, hey, don't screw us because our county wants this. If you didn't do your job on it, then that's your fault. You know what I mean? Come back another time and put in legislation. So this 4 year, that goes into effect November, is going to be a win-win for Rockingham County because now they can focus on doing their job and not worry about, running for re-election or raising funds. I mean, did I say it right?
You said it right.
I'm going to tell it like it is, Al.
One thing I want to add is, some people have said, well, how did this happen? It happened like every other bill in the state of New Hampshire for the last 250 years. It goes through the process. It was introduced, they went to committee, it was voted on the House floor, it went to the Senate, it went to committee, it was voted on the Senate floor, it went to the governor, it was signed by the governor. That's how it worked.
That's right.
It wasn't any behind the deal, behind the backroom deal or anything like that. It went through the complete process. So there was nothing, that was wrong or illegal or anything else, as some people have said, how did you do that? It went through the process. All these were constitutional offices, but the terms of their, employment is up to us, and we all felt in Rockingham County, I think it was almost unanimous, that it was the right thing to do
Yeah.
for our county.
I can't remember. What's the Constitution Amendment that's coming forward where they want to get rid of something?
It's Article 71, and what it is they're getting, so if you
Oh, they
read it, it has to do with probate.
Probate,
It has to do
register
with
of probate. Yeah.
Yeah, and it does, as you know, in 2016, the court system changed, and that position
Right.
became just kind of honorary. They get paid $100, they have no office, they have no place to go, it's there because it's a constitutional office. So basically, on the ballot is going to be a question for Article 71, and if you read it, there's no reference whatsoever to the register of probate, so
Are
it
you in
eliminates
support,
that.
pretty much everyone in
Absolutely.
support of getting rid of?
Yes.
Actually, my wife is running for a register of probate. And that $100 she gets, she's gonna donate the Wheels on
Right,
Meals, right?
Yeah.
Position should have been eliminated a long time ago.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, so we're telling you in Londonderry, making recommendations that you should vote yes on that Constitutional Amendment.
Yeah.
And then-
In all practicality, the office exists on paper, but it doesn't exist.
Right.
Right.
I mean, you technically have a register of probate that has absolutely no responsibilities and absolutely nothing to do, no office, no staff, nothing. So, yeah, it's time to get rid of it. And it doesn't make any sense to continue it on, even though they make the same salary we
Right.
do.
But they need
Yeah.
people need to realize that, when they eliminated the register of probate position, they instituted a clerk for the probate court. So that's who took over. So the
Right.
court, where it's now all court system, they put in a clerk, and that clerk functions as what would be the register of probate.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more so, because, remember, you have a clerk, they know the ins and the outs of the probate court and what's happening in that court, right? You get somebody who's elected, they may not have any background whatsoever in probate or family court, because that circuit court's doing a lot of different functions. So, I mean, that's part of
Right.
the issue there as well.
Yeah.
It needs to be
Yeah.
eliminated.
No,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
well, that's good to know, so at least the people know, when they see this on the ballot there, and wasn't there another one that's on the ballot too?
For a convention.
And
Yeah.
every 10 years, You know, it has to be on the ballot, and it's whether you want to have a constitutional convention. The last one we had in New Hampshire was 1984.
No, I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to. I'm voting against this Constitution Convention, because Article 74 in the Constitution gives the court systems the right to make their rules to make laws. Okay, if you look, there was a mistake somewhere. They screwed up at that Constitution Convention, and the courts can make laws with their rules. Okay, that's written in that article. So I voted for a balanced budget for a Constitution Amendment for the United States. Okay, but then once I educated myself more and more into Article 5, I realized, why would I take a chance at opening the Constitution? Because depending on who's in what state, Republican or Democrat, on how you can lose your gun rights, how you can lose First Amendment, how you can put in their choice, or pro-life, I mean, it could change. Okay, so as a chairman of State and Federal Relations and Veterans Affairs, those bills came to my committee. And I learned a lot on that there, because I probably handled about 15 of them in the last 16 years. And I passed one and I killed the rest of them. So I'm kind of worried, and I'm hoping people vote against that, the Constitution Convention.
Well, the other thing to remember is the 1984 Constitutional Convention is what put the legislature on an annual session instead of biannual.
Right, yep.
So it was then, in 1985, that we started going to annual sessions.
And then it caused, what do you get, 1,500 bills? I mean,
Well, I remember specifically, and I won't mention the representative's name, and I said to him, what are you doing? And he said, well, it's only going to be for budget items in the second year of the session.
Right.
I said, you and I both know that's not going to happen. And about a year later, I looked into him, and he said, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
But because I knew what was going to happen, the minute you opened that second year up,
Yep.
now we got 600, 700, 800 bills. I think this year we had 800 some odd bills. The Senate had 300 or something like that.
I had a temporary setback as the chair. What happened is I was all excited, did my last committee, I held on the, in the committee room and everything, gave my last speech on the floor. But what I forgot, I had 2 interim study bills, which I wasn't going to study. It's a feel-good to
Right.
push them aside at the last year.
Right.
So now, Wednesday, I have to hold a hearing at 10 o'clock on 2 interim study bills. So then I got to go all over again and say, this is my last hearing. So I'll be up there Wednesday at 10 o'clock on those 2 bills, to kill them or whatever. Not kill them, but make our recommendation. Then it's up to legislators, the new legislators, either bring them forward or not. And, to do that there. So, Pat, what do you think? Crime, very important to many people here in Londonderry. Has crime dropped? Are you seeing more and more cases coming in, or are you seeing less?
So I will tell you that the crime has not, overall, it hasn't really increased. But what has increased, which is very scary, is violent crimes. So we're seeing more and more violent crimes, like rapes, like serious physical assaults, negligent homicides, manslaughters, robberies, things like that. So that type of crime has increased. Right. And, during COVID, as Kathy mentioned COVID, we continued to work at the county attorney's office. Unfortunately, the court system basically shut down jury trials because we couldn't have juries come into the courthouse. So
Right.
we did not have jury trials for over a year. It was about a year and a half, which also caused our caseload to keep building and building and building because the cases that we couldn't resolve without a plea just sat around for about 2 years. So our normal caseload is drastically increased right now because of that backlog. So not only do we have these really serious violent crimes that we're dealing with, but we're also dealing with the backload. And I'm really proud of the way my staff has handled it. I think one of my biggest accomplishments as the county attorney is just the team that I've put together in my office. I have people who really care about this community and about what they do. They work really hard, long hours to do the right thing and to fight for justice for victims of crime.
But you're not putting bad criminals that he brings to you and back out in the street like other states are, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Folks, violent offenders, people with histories, we absolutely will recommend stand committed state prison time. But that's not the answer for everybody. There are nonviolent offenders where we advocate for alternative sentencing programs like our drug court or our veterans track.
I was honored to sponsor the Veterans Court, and, you know, that was a win-win, something
Right.
I'll go to my grave with, is proud of.
Right. But these violent crimes that we see, we take them very seriously. And those people absolutely need to be incarcerated to keep our community protected.
That's awesome. And the same thing, I mean, you've been with a lot of these drug cases, I mean, the stuff that you've been bringing in with your team, you know, in the drug task force there, I
They're
mean.
definitely not getting out of jail. But first of all, I just want to say thank you,
Mhm.
right? I know you're not running for re-election.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'll be in Florida for the winter.
Yeah, you're definitely going to be missed.
But hold on, let me clarify something. I am not leaving Londonderry, New Hampshire. So please stop texting me and saying, Al, are you selling your home? Are you doing it? I'm not. My home is still here.
But I just want to personally thank you.
Yeah.
Because when I decided to run for sheriff, you had my back.
Oh, without a doubt. I
Right.
knew you
You
were the
always
right guy
had
for
my
the
back.
job. Same thing with Pat and Stacy. I put their signs out, everything else. I kept their signs for them over the years.
You're going to be,
You know, and took care of them.
well missed up there.
Yeah, well, sure.
I am gonna miss you, Al.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss you very much.
You won't have you won't have anyone coming in anymore saying, "Hey, Al needs to resign." He needs to go. You know, he said something that they didn't like, because I'm not politically correct. Freedom of speech is a beautiful thing. I didn't serve 22 years as a Marine to give up 1 inch of my freedom of speech. You know, and I believe in that, and I'll take that to my grave. I mean, I'm sure the same thing at the county attorney, right? I mean, you speak out. You've been great on it.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I
you tell her like it
absolutely
is.
believe in freedom of speech as well. It's really a very
Right.
important right that we have that our Constitution protects.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you, Chuck, just bringing up the drug thing, if Congress goes forward and does decriminalize marijuana, like I'm sure you've heard they're talking about, and taking it off the list, do you think that's, and I guess Pat too, do you think that's gonna have an effect, one way or the other,
In
good or
terms
bad?
of crime, the crime
Well,
rate.
as far as crime rate, as far as, not having, the marijuana,
So
reasons
right
to
now,
prosecute?
my understanding is that marijuana was already decriminalized. So right now, if you have over 3/4 of an ounce, you can be charged. But if it's less than that, it's basically like a speeding
Violation.
ticket
Yeah,
type
violation.
of thing. I don't even know if it's a violation. So it's already been decriminalized. I guess the issue now is whether or not it's going to be legal. My take on that is I'm against it, and I'll tell you why. I see some of the cases that I'm seeing right now are really horrific negligent homicides and manslaughter cases where folks are under the influence of a controlled drug and or alcohol and they're killing other people.
When you say a controlled drug, is it marijuana or is it other?
It's all of it.
It's all
of it. And typically what I see is a combination of drugs. So it'll be the hardcore fentanyl, whatever, but there's always marijuana involved.
Right.
And so I'm of the opinion, I know a lot of people don't think it is a gateway drug. I think it is. I think that people use the drug, they feel a high from it, they may keep using it, it's not enough anymore, so they start using something else. So I don't, in terms of crime rates and in terms of trying to prosecute DWI and negligent homicide with marijuana, there is no per se level of marijuana. So for instance, with alcohol, we've had so much research and studies that we know if you're 0.08, then that's going to impair your ability to drive. We don't have any studies like that for
No.
marijuana.
We don't even have a test, right? Unless it's a blood test.
Right, but even with the test, many forensic toxicologists cannot say to a degree of medical certainty in a court of law that someone is impaired, because we don't have those studies. And so folks are out there getting into crashes, sometimes hurting others and sometimes not. There's marijuana in the system and there's no
Yeah.
way for us to show that someone was impaired. So
Well-
that's really scary, I think, in terms of crime, and the crime rate.
That's awesome. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here and letting Londonderry actually, hear and touch. But what I'm going to do, we got a few minutes left. And Kathy, I want you to tell real quick on 30 seconds and also bring up on the treasurer why we should get them reelected.
Oh, thank
And then
you.
I'm going to go right down the line here to everybody.
Okay, thank you. So again, my name's Kathy.
Oh, wait, one other thing I almost forgot. And how they get in touch with you and why they, with
Okay.
your phone number. Okay? I almost
Okay,
forgot that.
sounds good. Okay, I'm good to go.
Sorry
So
about that.
that's fine. So, again, I want to thank Alan, I want to thank Sherm for, having us here today. So again, my name's Kathy Stacy. I've been your Register of Deeds for the past 28 years. I can tell you that I've been committed to making sure that all my information is available to the public, 24/7, everything index and image at nhdeeds.org. And you can always reach me at my office, which is the Registry of Deeds, 603-642-5526, or, through my website at cstacy@nhdeeds.com. And I'm going to put a plug in for Scott Priestley. He is the county treasurer. He's been your treasurer for the past, I believe, 6 years. He's doing a great job, and I'm sure, I know that he could, if he could be here today, he would have been here, but he can't because of his work schedule. But again, I appreciate your support, and he would as well on November 8th. Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker?
Well, you and I have been on this program numerous times, Al. All I would say is, look at what we did in the past year as far as the budget and all the things that we did that are good for New Hampshire, reducing taxes. And if you continue to leave us in charge, Republicans in charge, I can promise you we'll continue to do the good things we have done for the past 2 years.
Awesome. And I'm sure everyone in London knows how to get in touch with the speaker there. But Sheriff Maceos.
Well, I just want to, again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about the hard work that the men and women of the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office have been doing. I campaigned on a lot of things. I promise from day one that I'll continue to fight to get these drugs off the street. I promise I will continually be active, an active shooter, to make sure that our schools are safe from any dangers that present. Most importantly, community policing. Community policing isn't just for law enforcement, it's for everybody in Rockingham County. I'm a working sheriff. I think I'm a little bit different because I bring 40 years with the business experience, plus close to 34 years with the law enforcement experience. Like I said, I'm a working sheriff. I'm the people's sheriff. I work for you, and that's what I plan to do, and I plan on providing the best possible law enforcement services available to you. And thank you again for letting me speak.
You're welcome. And how do they get in touch with you?
You can call 603-679-2225, and they can take me to my my extension. The county, we've been working on a new website. It's not up yet. The old website is down, so we're hoping within the next couple weeks, couple months, that our website will be up. Everybody knows that I own the Londonderry BP.
Right.
Feel free to stop by if you have any concerns about the sheriff's office or anything that you need done. Thank you.
Awesome. County Attorney Pat?
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Sherm, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. So I want people to know how important all the county positions are. With regard to the county attorney position, we deal with really serious crimes and really violent offenders, as well as folks that need help, like our veterans who can be rehabilitated. So please do your research on the candidates in this race. I've been the county attorney for 8 years. I was an assistant county attorney for 16 years. Professionalism and integrity are really important to me. I demand it and I require it from everybody in my office. I can't say the same for my opponent. We work hard every single day in the courthouse for the cause of justice for all, and I want to continue to do that. So please vote for me and re-elect me, and I promise I'll continue to work hard to keep the communities of Rockingham County safe. My website is friendsofpatconway.com. You can get in touch with me through that website, and the office number is 603-642-4249. Thank you.
I'd just like to close out with one thing before, is when you go to the polls, and I'm directing this at all citizens, you need to vote the whole ticket. You can't stop at the congressional office. You can't stop at the executive council. You need to go all the way down the ballot and vote for your state representatives and your county officials also. You need to complete the ballot. Don't stop halfway down. Please vote
Right.
the whole ballot.
Awesome. Once again, I brought you the best candidates that we have that have been doing the job for Rockingham County, and your legislators, vote Republican, okay? Vote for your wallet, vote for less crime. It's the real thing. I mean, take care of our town and make sure we get the right people to continue to save you money on your property taxes and everything else. This is Who's Looking Out for You, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
The preceding program was produced by Londonderry residents. The views and opinions expressed are not necessarily the views and opinions of the LACTV staff or its volunteers and should not be considered an endorsement by CTV 20 or its staff and volunteers.